You're listening to Living Out Loud with my mom, Michele Flamer. Yep, she's a flamer and proud of it. Get ready to learn about queers in your communities doing great things every week.
Every once in a while, there's a story I feel called to tell again. Because here's the thing about putting yourself out into the world, you don't only come out once. You evolve, you grow, you meet new people, and somehow the audience you're speaking to today can look completely different from the one you had a year ago. So today I'm going back into the archives and bringing this episode back to the surface. It's one of the most vulnerable conversations I've ever had and ever shared, where I opened up about my own coming out story, what it took for me to finally live honestly, authentically, and the parts of the journey that I didn't always talk about out loud. If you're new here, you may have never heard this story. And if you've been here for a while, maybe it's worth hearing it again through the lens of who I am today. So here it is again, a little piece of my story that still feels incredibly relevant to the work I'm doing, the conversations I'm having, and the person I'm continuing to become. So let's go back. There isn't any video for this, so it's going to be a black screen if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening it to this on earplugs, then you're all good to go. Anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of the story going forward, and appreciate your support.
You know, it's funny. When I look back, I don't even know if I came out in the traditional sense. It felt more like I just started coming home to myself. So picture this. I'm in college, playing tennis, dating this really sweet boy named Howie. He was on the baseball team. Life looked pretty normal from the outside. And then every day at tennis practice, the women's softball team would roll. They would stroll by, and oh my God, they yelled things like using my last name, Flamer, with that last name, how are you not gay? It went on for months, you guys. Just this kind of playful heckling that was both annoying and oddly curious until one day they asked me to go out with them. Well, not one day. They asked me a lot if I would go out with them on a Friday night. And um, so they asked me this one week, and for whatever reason, I said yes. I don't know what possessed me on this exact day. I can't tell you what was happening at the moment, but yeah. I ended up going out to this bar in Culver City called The Connection. And I don't know how many of you might even remember this bar if you lived in LA. If not, let me just tell you, I remember walking in and before I went, I told Howie I was going for a girls' night out. Yeah, wink, wink. It was definitely a girls' night out. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see me. So I still remember walking in. It was dark, cozy, familiar in a way that I can't explain. The kind of space where people saw each other. You know, it wasn't just the gay nod. It was like, I see you, girl. I see you. Um, it wasn't fancy at all. I mean, it was a dive bar, but I learned how to play really good darts there. I learned how to play pool, and I learned later on that I would come out there. So it felt like community. Didn't have to be fancy. It didn't have to be anything but exactly what it was. I didn't realize it then, but that night something in me exhaled. I didn't even have a language for it, but I knew I felt at home. And that's the thing about realizing who you are. It's not always a lightning bolt moment. Sometimes it's just peace, like slipping into a room that's been waiting for you your whole life. And back then, you guys, I mean, this was 1989, 1990. And bisexuality wasn't something people really talked about. You were one or the other. The words fluid, spectrum, non binary love, those just weren't in our vocabulary yet. So I tried to make sense of what I felt. I remember telling my high school friends first. We were at this Italian restaurant in Studio City called Michele's. The wait staff sings opera between plates of delivering spaghetti, lasagna, whatever Italian deliciousness. And one of, like we're sitting there and they're like, that's amore, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to like tell my high school, my childhood friends that I'm gay. And so for whatever reason this night, like it wasn't about, hey, let's all meet for dinner because I have big news for you. I don't think I said that, but it's like the minute that they heard my words, it was like, oh my God, Michele, we've been waiting for you to figure this out. Like they'd known all along, especially my friend Lisa. Lisa could call, I mean, she just had this weird superpower, this instinctual thing about knowing, just knowing things about people. I don't even know if she knew it was like a superpower back then. But looking back, it's kind of hilarious. I mean, you guys, tell me you're gay without telling me you're gay. Show me your in show me your scrapbook. Like I made a whole entire Olivia Newton-John scrapbook, you guys, when I was a kid. I didn't even bother putting John Travolta in it. Like I think John might have been in a few little photos, but he was like in the background. It was just Olivia. Oh my God. And I was obsessed with Grease. I don't know if you were, again, Gen X here, showing my age, but my God, Olivia, she was just the best. Hopelessly devoted to her. But coming out to friends was one thing. Coming out to family, that was going to be different. Around that time, something happened within my extended family, a false accusation that really shook me. I won't go into all the details, but let's just say it left me feeling very scapegoated and alone. And for someone like me, a firstborn, people pleasing child of divorce, it was fucking terrifying. I was being accused of literally child molestation. And I'm not going to go into the rest of the details, but I know that you guys will hold this with me. Whew, I didn't realize how many emotions this would bring up, but you know how you've done a lot of work around certain things, like for example, you think you're pretty healed, ready to date, and then you meet somebody and they show you a mirror of yourself. And you think, oh my God, I thought I was so much more healed. It's kind of one of these things, but this I don't go around talking about, so it's been a while. So again, I was trying really hard at that time to not, whew, to keep the peace, to stay loved and to just not rock a boat. But suddenly my truth felt like a storm that could sink the whole ship. I don't know how to hold that yet, so I hid. I mean, I was like 19 years old, 18, 19 years old, and I talked a little with my mom, and God, my mom, she freaking believed me out of the gate. I can't begin to tell you how much that meant to me at that time, I have to tell her. I'm going to tell her on the next conversation I have with her that I really appreciate that. My dad believed me too, I will tell you. It was the rest of my family, and I'm come from a pretty close, extended family, a Jewish family. And being at that age and being hit with something, and if you're like me and you come from codependency or you're, and a people pleaser, part of you is going to relive every moment you spent with this child, recollecting any possible thing that could in their in their fucked up brains. Like I was like trying to recall every time I was with this girl. And let me tell you, this girl is like 2. My little brother was the same age at this time. I mean, these kids are now in their 30s, almost 40 basically. And at that moment, it hit me like a ton of bricks because I care and I am such a gentle heart when it comes to kids and dogs, and I'm still this way. Like, I am so grateful that it didn't cost me more than this time in my life. So, what I didn't know then and what I've learned through the years is that silence can feel safe until it actually starts to suffocate you. And that's when I realized coming out isn't just about like who you love. It's about choosing not to abandon yourself anymore. People pleasers unite, anxious attachments unite. Anybody who has dealt with anything like this, it's like, don't abandon yourself anymore. So I got a call. This is now a few months in to all of this bullshit going on. And I got a call from my aunt and uncle. They wanted me to come over for dinner, just the 3 of us. Agatha was there too. Agatha was like family. She'd been their housekeeper for years, but really she was like the glue that held everything and everyone together. Like, even if my aunt and uncle weren't there and I was in the area and I had to go to the restroom, like I would come over and the next thing you know, like I'm coming out of the bathroom and walking back through the kitchen and Agatha would be like, "Do you need a snack and a drink?" Like she'd basically like give me a snack and a drink for, on my way out. I think I was, going to an after school, one of my jobs or whatever, but my aunt actually spoke fluent Spanish, but Agatha was actually really good with her English. So, and I would use my best broken Spanish with her, but my aunt and uncle always had this grace about them. They were always loving and very composed. And I miss them. So thinking about, going back and just talking about my coming out story, I can't, I used to kind of glorify my coming out story because I just thought it was the part where I said the words, Mom, I'm gay, Dad, I'm gay, friends, I'm gay. I think I like women. I think I want to make a life with a woman at some point. You, you don't realize that the coming out story happens months and maybe years before you actually say those words. So that night, when they invited me over for dinner, we sat down and they told me what had been happening over the past few weeks behind the scenes with this family. And they've realized the truth that what I'd been accused of was a complete fabrication, was a lie. And they apologized. And when I say apologized, I mean they really apologized. They looked at me and I started to cry. I mean, they had tears in their eyes and they just said, "We are so sorry. We can't believe we didn't take your word for it." I mean, you guys, how often does that happen in life where you get that kind of full circle redemption? I mean, after months, maybe longer, of being dragged through hell, of feeling like the black sheep, the scapegoat all of a sudden, which in all reality, guys, I am literally the cousin that calls and keeps in touch with almost everybody in my family. In fact, my brother, the one who is 2.5 years younger than me, would come up after each grandparent had passed away, and even like any elder. And he was just always amazed at how great I was at keeping in touch with everybody. And I was just like, dude, we have the same amount of hours in a day. It's like what you choose to use with those, what you choose to do with those hours. But after months, maybe longer, of just being dragged through the fucking muck, you guys, suddenly I felt very seen. And I remember like just feeling believed and vindicated. I can't even explain the relief. It was like 1,000 pounds lifted off my chest. And I remember walking into the house and seeing my mom and saying, "Oh my God." And we didn't have cell phones back then, you guys. It's not like I could jump in the car and call my, and call my parent, and talk on the way. But it's like, it's like my mom said that my aunt and uncle had just called them to tell them that. And when I got home, she was like ready to hug me. Like she was so grateful that her brother and her sister-in-law were like so sweet to say that. And later, I found out that they'd even spoken with my dad and they apologized to them too. And it healed something that had been fractured for a long time in our family. Looking back now, it's wild because these people were wrapped up in their own fucking chaos, their drugs, the 80s madness of cocaine. It was such a messy time, but I survived it and I came out of it knowing who really loved me. Around that time, I finally had the conversation with my mom. My sweet Jewish mother, in all her classic mom energy, looked at me and said, "So will I not have grandchildren from you?" And I said, "Of course you will. We'll adopt or find a surrogate. There are a million ways to make a family." And even in the late 80s, I knew that was possible because I saw it. I saw love showing up in all kinds of shapes.
If you liked this episode, please hit the follow button, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next week, stay proud, stay loud.